Welcome everyone to a new tournament. This is the Abu Dhabi Masters happening in UAE. In the first round, on the top board, we have Daniil Dubov playing with the white pieces, a rating of 2652, taking on the Indian youngster Rithvik Krishnan. We have a very interesting position on the board. Rithvik, who is playing with the black pieces, moves his knight to d5. Let's have a look at how we reached this position. White begins the game with pawn to d4, knight f6, c4, e6, and Dubov goes for his favorite Catalan. He's one of the best players there, and Rithvik takes on the challenge. He takes the pawn on c4, bishop g2, check, knight comes to d2. The more common move here is bishop to d2, but he goes knight d2, b5, protecting the pawn, castles, and here Dubov plays a4, hitting the queen side. c6 is played, and now knight e1, and this is where we come back to the game. Dubov in this position with white goes knight to c2. He attacks the bishop on b4, and Rithvik can simply save it. He goes he goes pawn to a5. Another way was just simply bishop e7 and then bishop to b7, knight d7, but instead Rithvik decides to play a5. Interesting move actually, because now with Dubov taking here, I'm interested to see what he does, because if he takes back knight b4, you're losing that bishop, but he takes first on d2. Takes, and essentially what he has done, he has made Dubov commit to a takes b5, c takes b5, straightening out his pawn structure. But Dubov says, I'm happy with this position, pawn to e4. I have compensation, knight goes back to e7. Maybe knight f6 was better, because whenever you push e5 opening up the bishop, the knight jumps back in the center. Queen h5, attacking the pawn on b5. And Rithvik says, take the pawn. Well, maybe better was bishop d7 here, and could have been fine, but knight c6 means that you simply lose the pawn here. Dubov doesn't even take it. He pushes his pawn to d5. Wow, that is interesting. Pawn takes pawn. He wants to take back with the pawn. Rithvik takes. You can see Rithvik looking a bit low there, perhaps feeling that the position hasn't really gone his way. Now, where to move this knight is the first question. He goes bishop f5. Wow, that was a bit unusual. Takes here, maybe he wants to take on d2. c2 is also hanging. That's interesting. Bishop f4 played by Dubov. What a move. Because if you take on c2, I'm now taking on c6 and my bishop is no longer hanging. It's an amazing move. Bishop g6 hits the queen. And now the only move to keep an edge is queen f3. Of course Dubov finds it. Can we go knight b4 now? Is the big question. Knight to b4. Knight b4. By the way, he takes on c2. But just to finish that variation, takes, rook a8, takes, and now d6 gives white a very big advantage because the d pawn is very strong. So bishop c2, Dubov takes on c6, rook c8 played. And now with your bishop looking here, this is what Dubov had been planning all along. He plays pawn to c7, and look at the clock timings. Dubov has 1 hour 4 minutes. Rithvik has 37 minutes only. Rook takes c7. You are going to lose an exchange here, but in return, look at these 3 pawns. They're very, very powerful. So Dubov takes the rook, bishop takes c7, queen takes c7, and very important is whenever you are exchange up to have open files for your rook. Look at this. Rook e1, hitting the knight. Very important. Now imagine if you kind of save this knight. He goes bishop a4. Let's say knight g6. Then already something like queen c6, and you take, and b5 is hanging and a5 is hanging. So anyway, he goes bishop a4, h4 played by Dubov, and this is very strong play by Dubov, because while Rithvik has everything quite decent for himself, his pieces are not coordinated, and Dubov is trying to already create play on the king side. Rook e3, excellent move, stopping rook d3 ideas, also doubling down the e file. King f8 played. For black, maybe it's very difficult to make things get moving, right? b4, the bishop is hanging, c3 isn't coming, rook e1 already doubling down, the knight is hanging here, knight goes back to g8. Rithvik is hoping that he gets his knight to f6. That would be a great place for the knight. But rook e5. Relentless here is Daniil Dubov. Excellent move. Knight to f6 comes in. And maybe you can triple down on the e file. He goes queen f4, setting up a dangerous trap, it seems. Rook e8. Is it a trap? Queen takes c7. Maybe some ideas there. Queen d7 played. In fact, he shouldn't have been afraid and played c3, because check, you have rook e8. If I take again, knight takes defense. Otherwise, if I take on c7, you have rook e1 check. So c3 was a great move, but queen d7 played, and now Daniil Dubov has an excellent move once again, which he finds rook c5 with the idea of rook c7. We have rook to e8 played, offering a trade of rooks. Otherwise, the white rook was coming in to c7. Takes on e8, and I guess you must take back with the knight, controlling the c7 square. He takes back with the knight. And bishop d5. This play by Dubov is so amazing. He's just using all his pieces beautifully. f6. Rithvik plays. And now bishop c6. Maybe you can attack the rook here, but then queen d4 defends it. He goes queen d6, offering a trade of queens. But Dubov doesn't want to trade. He goes for the mate on e8. The knight goes to c7. And now the rook is hanging, and there's only move. He finds that move, rook d5. What a beautiful move. If you take with the knight, mate. If you take the bishop, check, and you lose the queen. Well, he had to do it. Check there. Queen e8 played, and now rook takes. Amazing play. Amazing. This is like the magic of Daniil Dubov. Queen takes h7. Knight to d6. Check on h8. The king has to move up. King f7. And Dubov goes queen d8. The queen is like this heat-seeking missile. Attacks the knight and the pawn. King e6. And now the a5 pawn drops as well. It's too much because the g7 pawn is weak. The pawns are coming down. Bishop to c2. And h5 played. Rithvik is thinking about what should be his next ideas. His pawns are not moving, his pieces are not coordinating. He resigns. Daniil Dubov scores a win, the first win of Abu Dhabi Masters. He's clearly a favorite in this tournament, but it's not going to be easy. A lot of Indian youngsters are playing here. Indian, you have Pranav Anand, SL Narayanan. There are also players like David Paravian, Alexander Rakhmanov, Ivan Zemlyansky. So very strong tournament with many good players. And we'll be following this as we have our team member Anmol at the venue. Rithvik asks Daniel, what mistake did I make? And yeah, let's go and check out Dubov's interview.
Hi everyone, I'm joined by Grandmaster Daniil Dubov, who just defeated FM Rithvik Krishnan. Dubov, can you please go through us your game?
Yeah, I mean, it was a sharp game. This 91, I think I played like roughly 10 years ago, maybe. Kind of makes some sense. And 95 that he played, I remember that it's reasonable too. Like, I'm not sure if 92 is a move or not, but I remember that 95 was yeah, one of the decent moves. Then I think it's more or less, yeah, like after 92, I would think bishop e7 is a move instead of a5. And then later on, I think when I got my d4 d5 break, I thought white should be better. Although I mean it's hard to tell. But this is the thing about those positions that I mean it's easier to play for white, and you don't even need to like really calculate too much. Okay, after d5, clearly white has initiative. Maybe it's bad for black. Like at that point, maybe yeah, he has missed something. Also, I don't know what exactly, but yeah, I mean after this like bishop f4, I thought it's more or less yeah, more or less a conversion stage. Then it took me some time, but I wouldn't say it was yeah, I think I had it under control like all game long, more or less. I mean, it took some time. He tried to defend, but yeah, I mean, I don't think there was a moment where he got a real chance. And yeah, it seems to be a pretty clean game to some extent.
And according to you, which is the critical move of the match?
Excuse me, a
Which is the
critical.
critical moment or move of the match?
Yeah, I mean, my guess would be first of all like a5 by him. Yeah, I don't know. It kind of makes sense, but I have a feeling bishop e7 is a move. And then secondly, after queen h5, yeah, I mean the position he chose, I think, is very dangerous. So like it's either knight bc6 is a mistake, or I mean, yeah, he should have played something else after d5, which is, I mean, I failed to name really. Yeah, because after d5, I mean, okay, knight bc6, it does look natural. I mean, I got his logic, kind of makes sense, but then after d5, you actually need to do something, and then again, like ed bishop f5 does look pretty, and it all makes sense, and he develops the pieces, but there is just bishop f4, and yeah, despite all the logic of his actions, I didn't see move for black really. Maybe there was one, but yeah, I didn't see it. I mean, I thought there was a line. I mean, like you guys will put this board here, yeah, and then so I thought like the only thing I was worried about after bishop f4 was that he can do like bishop g6, queen f3, which he played. I think bishop takes maybe c2, like I take something, and then he goes knight g6. Then there was this like long line, so c7, queen d7, queen like c6 or d5. I thought it doesn't matter, like takes, knight takes f4, bishop 8, knight e2 check, king g2, rook 8, rook e5, then rook b5. I think white is winning, but this was, I thought, the only like thin point, because there, I mean, I didn't see move for black, but it could be that something works there. I mean, I had a feeling that that line is, yeah, apparently I'm winning, but I mean, okay, like at some point he has actually two minor pieces for the rook, and I started this rook takes a5, rook takes b5 stuff. Could be okay for black, but I didn't see it. And otherwise, I thought it's just bad, and yeah, I mean, his move included, I thought like all the rest is pretty much lost for black.
Yeah. Daniel, thank you so much for your time and
Thank
best
you.
of luck for your next match.
Thank you.